Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Teacher Talks tonight. And we have a very special guest from Cyprus, and he is a well-known educator and trainer, and also is a book writer. He is a very important person for ELT world, and he is a professional learning and development manager, MENA, which means Middle East and North Africa, and also teacher trainer and author for Cambridge University Press, and also he is NGSI, the book series writer, English is a second language, for Cambridge University Press. And he is Peter Lucantoni. And when he comes, we are going to start our live sessions. And now I'm going to invite him here. I don't want to waste time because I'm really excited for him. Let me invite him. I have invited him. When he comes, we are going to start our live sessions with Mr. Lucantoni. You're welcome. He is a very important educator, Mr. Lucantoni, and he has been in this field for more than, I think, 20 years. He has a great experience in this field, and I'm sure that we will hear lots of things from him tonight. Let me invite him one more time. Okay, he is here. I have invited you, but okay. Yes. Hello.
Hi.
It's great to see you, Peter.
Hi, Volkan. How are you?
Wonderful. Hi. It's wonderful. Hello, and welcome to Teacher Talks. I would like to say thank you to accept my invitation to Teacher Talks and being with us here tonight. And I'm really excited to have you in this live session, Peter.
Great to be here, Volkan. Except it's my bedtime. Remember that.
I know that. I know that this is your bedtime, and instead of going to the bed, you are here to teach us something, to share your ideas with us, and it's really precious. And thank you very much about it.
You're welcome.
And I don't want to take your time, so it's better to start quickly.
Sure.
And yeah, okay. Most of us know you, but some of us maybe want to know about you more. For this reason, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Well, my name's Peter Lucantoni. That's an Italian surname. My dad was Italian, but my mum is English. She's still alive. She lives in the UK. I have two sisters, two older sisters. They live in the UK near my mum. I've been teaching and training and writing books, and I've been in the English language teaching business for over 40 years. I started off in the UK, then spent some time in Italy. Then I went to Cyprus, to Guinea. Then I went to the Middle East, and now I'm back in Cyprus again, but this time on the south side.
I see. Thank you.
So that's me in a nutshell.
All right, great. So, Peter, can you tell us about your experiences in teaching? I know that you have a very, the great experience about it.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't teach anymore. It's quite a long time since I actually was in a classroom like many of you here this evening teaching. You know, my job nowadays is as a trainer and as a manager of trainers. But I think it's true to say that some of the best hours of my life were spent in the classroom. I've got very fond memories of teaching, particularly in the early years when I was young and enthusiastic and I had lots of energy. I think as I got older, I lost a lot of my energy, particularly when I started teaching children and teenagers. The energy soon left my body for teaching, but I still have great memories of it, and I think I really have a lot of respect for teachers and the hard work that they do. I think teachers are often criticised, and we don't think highly enough of teachers. So anybody who's here this evening and listening who's a teacher, I congratulate you, particularly in the last 12 months with the pandemic and having to teach in very, very difficult circumstances. Hats off to all of you.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. And it's very, we are passing from hard days right now about this COVID problem. All right. So my next question is about your own experiences in education. What was your favorite moment or experience in your own education that you still remember?
I think one thing that I always remember, and it's a question I'm asked quite often, and I always go back to the time when I was living and working in London in the early 1980s, and I did my CELTA course, which of course in those days wasn't CELTA, it was called CTEFLA. Had a different name in those days. And I can remember one of my tutors, one of my trainers on the course, and the way that the impact that she had on me, because I was young and I was new to teaching. I didn't know very much about it, but I can still picture her now, and some of the things that she said to me and the things I learned from her, and how much support and encouragement she gave me in my early years as a teacher. Unfortunately, she died at quite a young age of cancer, so she's no longer with us. But I do remember a bit later on, after I'd finished my CTEFLA course, I was in touch with her, and she continued to be a bit of a mentor, even after I'd finished my CTEFLA course and continued my teaching, what became my teaching career. So she's the one person that really sticks in my mind from nearly 40 years ago now. Yeah, I'll never forget her. Never forget.
No, I see. It's a really great memory for you. Thank you very much. So my next question is about your current job. So can you tell us about your current job and what kind of things you are doing there?
Well, my job title is Professional Learning and Development Manager, mainly for the Middle East and North Africa, which very sadly doesn't include Turkey, unfortunately. But I still get to go to Turkey, and I do bits of work in Turkey. But basically, my job nowadays is to manage a team of trainers, both employees of Cambridge, but also freelance trainers. And we work to support teachers across the whole of the Middle East and North Africa regions. So this means that the region, the area, the geographical area which I cover is from Morocco over in the west to the United Arab Emirates over in the east. And we go down as far as Yemen.
Yes.
And we go up to Iran, Iraq. So it's a massive geographical region, and of course every country within the region has different needs, different experiences, different resources, different challenges, different problems. So it's an incredibly interesting and very, very varied job that I have. And luckily, I can still find time to do writing. I'm still able to keep writing my course books for IGCSE, English as a second language. And I'm currently working on a teacher development book with a colleague of mine in the United Kingdom, which will be published early next year. So yeah, apart from the management of the trainers and looking after the MENA region, yeah, I do quite a lot of writing as well. Yeah,
Writing as well. So
yeah.
wonderful. Thank you very much, Peter, about this information. It's like great. It's wonderful about it. And my other question is, working in Cyprus. I know a little bit because I was a student there in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Like it's like 2003, between 2009, I was there. But
Yeah,
what
yeah.
about, in your point of view, what are the advantages and disadvantages of working in Cyprus?
Um, well, it's a bit strange because I don't actually work in Cyprus, although I live here. Cyprus is not in MENA either, so I don't actually do any
Ah,
training here.
I see.
All of my training is in the MENA region.
Ah.
Cyprus is not in my region, so I do live here. I'm based here,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't actually do very much work here. I do sometimes, but really not very much. But before I was working for Cambridge, I did work here, and when I was in Guinea, I worked there as well. So to answer your question, what are the good things? The climate, the food,
Yeah.
the people. Those are the things that make it a wonderful place to live in. And I think if you are working in, if you are teaching, we're very lucky in Cyprus because English is very much, and it's a very important language
Mm-hmm.
in Cyprus, and many people are already, very competent and very proficient in English,
I see.
even when they come to study. So young people tend to get to quite a high level of proficiency by their middle teens. So it's quite a strange situation in that respect. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, all around us, everything is written in English. All the street signs are bilingual, sometimes trilingual. So there's all of that extra support for people as you're looking around. You see things,
I see.
translations of things in English. But it is a truly wonderful island and a great place to work if you ever get the opportunity, and to study, of course.
Yeah, I had a really great time over there during
Yeah,
my
yeah.
study time at the university. Thank you, Peter. And my next question is about related about your education. Like, how have you changed as an educator since you first started?
Um, I think one of the things I've learned in order to be an effective educator, whether an educator in terms of being a teacher
Mm-hmm.
or in terms of being a trainer, I think one of the most important things I've learned is that you have to listen. You have to listen to students, or if you're working with teachers, you have to listen to teachers because everybody has something to say, everybody has something to offer, and I think whether you're a teacher teaching students or somebody like
Mm-hmm.
myself, a trainer teaching teachers, or even as a trainer teaching other trainers, I think it's absolutely essential that you listen to what other people have got to say. Even at my age, I'm still learning. I'm still picking up new tips and ideas about the profession. So I think, the one piece of advice I would give to everybody, no matter what your role is always take the time to listen to the people in front of you.
I
You,
see.
you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to even like what they say, but you should always give people the time so that you can listen to what they have to say and then give yourself a chance to reflect on it and then respond. I think there's the old adage, the old story that teachers love to
Mm-hmm.
talk and trainers love to talk and teacher talking time and all of that. There's nothing wrong with teacher talking time if it's done in the right way. Teacher talking time is not a dirty phrase, but there has to be a balance.
I
And of course,
see.
the balance is allowing students to talk or allowing trainee teachers to talk and really listening to what they have to say and responding to them.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. When you said about teacher talking times, I remember that my CELTA course, when my tutors start about the TTT and teacher talking time, I always said, oh my God, probably I talk a lot. I always saying this thing because that was a really problem about teacher talking time. But of course, after the courses, you managed to decrease that teacher talking time. It's a
Yeah,
really
but
important point.
don't be mistaken. Teacher talking time is not necessarily bad. It depends when it happens in a lesson. You know, there are certain times when it's important to have a high level of teacher talking time. For example, when you're giving instructions, the person doing the talking is the teacher. You know, when you're wrapping up and summarizing, then the teacher's doing the talking. When you're introducing something, the teacher's doing the talking. So I don't think teacher talking time per se is bad. It's when it's at the expense of student talking time that it's bad. So, you know, I think every lesson needs to have teacher talking time, but it needs to be balanced with student talking time. Otherwise, you'd have lessons where nobody's saying anything. You'd have 40 minutes of silence.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Thank you, Peter. And my next question is really, especially these days, not these days, more than a year. It's a very important topic. And as you know that when the pandemic started, before the pandemic, we all had a face-to-face classes, but after the pandemic, we moved to this the distance education. As you know that most of the countries, actually all of the countries around the world, they all moved to distance education because of pandemic. So in this term, what do you think about distance education?
I think the first thing is, let's remember that distance education or remote learning, whatever you want to call it, it's not new. I did my master's degree over 20 years ago with the University of Edinburgh in the UK by distance learning. It was remote learning. I didn't have internet or email in those days, and I used to type my assignments and I used to send them by fax, you know, to be assessed. And every month I would have a phone call with my tutor to talk about things. So, you know, this whole concept of not being in a classroom, it's not a new one. Of course, nowadays with technology, it's a different type of remote learning or distance learning, whatever you want to call it. So that there are definitely different skills that we need today that we weren't using 20 years ago. But I mean, that's the same with all technology and with all learning and with all resources. But I think, you know, one of the things I've noticed in the last 12 months or so when working with teachers is we seem to have this mistaken idea that if you were teaching a class for 2 hours in a classroom, then you have to teach them for 2 hours online. And I think I've realized now that that's not the case at all. 2 hours in the classroom is not the same as 2 hours online. And something that I'm trying to do in my training sessions now is, if I have a 2-hour slot, maybe only half of that is actually face-to-face, as we're doing now, face-to-face contact. And the other hour, I may send the teachers away and say, go away and do a task on your own, asynchronously, and then come back to the online session and let's talk about what you've done and review what you've done. Now go away for 30 minutes and do something and then come back again. So they still have the 2-hour session, but it's not 2 hours of this face-to-face, stressful, going into breakout rooms, coming out of breakout rooms, going into pairs, writing in the chat bot, you know, which is incredibly stressful for everybody that's involved. And I think the attention rate and the effectiveness of doing it really, you know, it drops very, very rapidly because people just can't do it. But if you are doing things online, as we're doing now, for maybe 30 minutes or so, and then say, okay, time out, have a break, go away, find this, look up this, research this, write this, and then come back, and we'll meet up again in 30 minutes and review what you've done. You know, if you have that change of interaction, change of place of learning, I think online learning can be a lot more effective. Of course, you need to set things up very carefully. You need to make sure your students know exactly what they have to do when they leave the online, the synchronous session. Make sure it's very clear what the task is, and then bring them back again, and hopefully they'll have completed it. But in my experience, the engagement and the motivation is much, much higher if you allow people to stop and go away and then come back again.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much about these useful tips about distance education or remote learning, as we mentioned. And my other question is about the suitability of the distance education and online learning. Is online learning suitable for everyone? What about, for example, pre-primary students?
I mean, if there's no choice, then you just have to do it. And at the moment, we don't have a choice. I mean, I'm sure most of us would, if we had a choice, we'd like to go back to what we were doing 18 months ago, which was live, face-to-face, synchronous, contexts and teaching and training. We'd love to go back to that. But at the moment, we can't. So we have to make do with what we've got. I'm not a pre-primary teacher. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I've heard colleagues talking about this exact question, this exact challenge. And I think what I'm hearing from my colleagues is that the issue with kindergarten or pre-primary, whatever you want to call it, is that lack of social learning that students don't get when they're online, and which obviously they do get when they're in a group together in a face-to-face situation. So, as I say, I'm not an expert, I don't know, but that to me would seem to be one of the major issues with very young children working online. The other thing, of course, is that very young children, when they're in a classroom with a teacher and maybe an assistant teacher and with their friends, there's always going to be help around them. But if they're sitting in front of a computer, probably on their own, maybe with a grandma or grandpa or somebody with them, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same as being in a classroom. And I think that challenge is true for all age groups. I think it's more true for very young ages, but I also think for adults that lack of social contact, physical contact in a classroom or a training room is difficult for a lot of people.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. There's a question. The question is from Ebihar Çelik. It says, I find it challenging to keep young learners' attention online. Third graders mostly prefer watching each other's camps. What would you advise about it?
I think the point I made, a few minutes ago about breaking up the online session, as I said, a 60-minute classroom lesson is not the same as 60 minutes online. And I think we have to allow students opportunities to have a time out, have a break, go away, do something, and then come back. But I also think that when I work with teachers, one of the first things, and you'll know if you've done CELTA or any of the other training courses, one of the things you're always told is variety, variety, variety. Keep changing things, keep doing things in different ways. And I think the same is true when we're working in the current situation. Is we need variety. We need to keep swapping and changing. Something in the classroom, you may say to students in a classroom, you've got 5 minutes to do this. I don't think I would ever say that in an online situation. I don't think you can in an online context. I think you need to break it down into very, very small chunks, much more than you would do in a classroom situation. So give students a lot more scaffolding, a lot more support for the things that they're doing. And when they've completed one part of an activity, stop them, bring them back. Okay, let's check what you've done. Now we're going to move on to the next step. So you may do that in a classroom, but probably the steps are longer. And of course, in a classroom, you can wander around and you can monitor. You can't do that online. Well, you can with breakout rooms, but it's not the same. It's very time consuming using breakout rooms and going in and coming out and going in and coming out. It takes forever as a teacher or as a trainer. So I think breaking things down into much smaller steps, much more manageable steps, I think is a good piece of advice for teachers and indeed for trainers as well.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter, about it.
Welcome.
About the useful tips about the distance education and the breakout rooms. And I was going to ask, do you have about suggestions to increase interaction during distance education? But you have already talked about it, so I will skip these questions. So, well, I want to ask this question: what do you love the most about teaching?
What do I love the most about teaching? Well, as I said, I
Yeah,
don't really teach anymore, so
I
it's a
mean,
difficult question, but I can answer what do I most like about training,
yeah. Let's change
about
it. What do
working
you
with
like about
teachers.
most training? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think it has to be seeing people develop, seeing people taking on ideas, engaging with ideas, concepts that maybe they haven't come across before, and not being frightened, a little bit of a risk.
Hello, hello.
I don't know if you got that, Volkan, because you
Can you hear
froze,
me?
or did I freeze?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, is it me or you that's freezing?
I don't know. Probably me, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, you were talking, you were saying something about the training. What do you love
Um,
most about training?
yeah, I think I was saying that the thing that I like most about working with teachers is when teachers are happy to accept new ideas and new concepts and to think about them and to try them out and not be worried about taking risks with new ideas. It annoys me when teachers say no, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I find that quite frustrating. I think teachers need to try out new things, and then if they don't work, fine. You can bin that idea, but
I
but
see.
don't teachers don't shouldn't be afraid about taking some risks in classrooms and trying out new things.
Mm-hmm. I see. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. And there's a question. Which she says, Azra asks, may I explain some solutions for assessing challenges in adult online classes? How we can do assessment in interactive way?
That's a big question, isn't it? Assessment of what? Writing, speaking? Being assessed. Obviously, if it's writing, then writing can be marked offline. It doesn't need to be assessed
Mm-hmm.
online. Why would you do that anyway? But if you're if you're talking about spoken language, then I don't see why it can't be. I don't like the word assess. It sounds very negative. But evaluated or given feedback, I don't see that can't be done in the same way as you would do in a live situation, really. I'm not
I
answering
see.
very well because I'm not really clear about what's meant or what skills are being
Mm-hmm.
referred to.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Peter, can you hear me clearly?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the answer. I hope Azra got the idea about her question. And my next question is, Peter, about superpowers. So if you could have one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help?
I suppose by a superpower you mean like being able to fly or
Kind of, yeah.
becoming
Yes,
invisible,
that
or is that what
kind
you
of
mean?
superpower.
Yeah. People that you're working with, because quite often students and trainee teachers, when they see the teacher, when they see the trainer coming closer, maybe to do some monitoring, then people freeze and they stop talking, and they get that, they maybe give up or get embarrassed and shy. But I think if you could be invisible, you'd have a much better understanding of what's going on, and as I said earlier, you'd be able to listen a
Yeah,
lot more easily if you were invisible to the people in the room. So
a
yeah,
great one.
invisibility. I
Yeah.
think that would be my superpower.
Wonderful one. Thank you very much, Peter. So, Peter, uh, my next question is about challenging issues in education. What do you think is the most challenging issue in education today?
Uh, Engagement and motivation, keeping students engaged, keeping students motivated. I appreciate how really difficult it is for teachers now. Online, and now they're having to learn online as well. So much
Mhm.
as young people like being online, do they really want to be online 24/7? I don't think they do. It's exhausting. It's tiring. You need a break. Um, so when they were in the classroom, the break came by checking Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is that you use. But now there's no break. You're staring at a screen, from the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep at night. So I think that that's the
Exactly.
challenge is keeping students interested and engaged and motivated in what's in front of them. And I'm sorry to repeat it. I'm going to go back. I've said it a couple of times. That's why it shouldn't be constantly online like this. There should be a timeout where you say,
Exactly.
right, come back in after you've done the task. And I think that can really help, with that particular challenge.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you. And my next question is about 21st century, Peter. Do you think that the current way of educating children fully prepares them for the needs of 21st century? If no, what are your suggestions about it?
I think we do a pretty good job, to be honest with you. I mean, I know in my own course book writing, we pay lots of attention to looking at collaboration and social skills and critical thinking and creative thinking. We do our very best to integrate those non-linguistic skills
Mm-hmm.
into course book writing nowadays. But to be honest with you, we don't know what's coming in the future. So it's actually very difficult to know exactly what it is that we should be teaching our students. I mean, we only have a vague idea of what's going to be happening. I mean, who knew 18 months ago that we'd suddenly all be teaching online? I imagine everybody here this evening has become an amazing expert now in online teaching or remote teaching or distance learning or whatever you want to call it.
I see.
We were talking about it would be over in 3 months. It wasn't. It said it would be over in 6 months. It wasn't. 9 months. It wasn't. 12 months. It wasn't. 15 months. It still isn't over. We still don't know what's happening next. So I think on the one hand, yes, we can guess about the future. We can make some predictions, but we don't really know what it is that we should be teaching. I think also I have slight problems with terms like critical thinking and analysis and Bloom's taxonomy, as if they're all 21st century things. But when I was at school, we did critical thinking, and I'm talking about 50 years ago. We were creative. We did projects, and we did art, and we did woodwork, and we worked in pairs and we worked in groups. None of that is new. I think the difference nowadays is how it's being applied to the contexts within which those particular skills are being applied. That's definitely changed. That's very different from when I was at school. But what's going to happen next? I mean, it's already 2021. We're already a fifth of a way into the 21st century. We don't know what's going to happen in the next, 20 weeks. Never mind 20 years. So I think it's a real challenge, Volkan, to know what we should be doing.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's like we don't know what's going to happen in the future, so we will wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And my next question is about learning trends. Which learning trends captures your attention the most, and why? For example, mobile learning, project-based learning, game-based learning, or content-based learning, or etc.
Again, I don't think there's any one particular trend or approach. I mean, I'm a great believer in, if it works, then do it. I don't think there's anything right or wrong in our profession. I think what we should be doing is looking for what's more effective with a particular group of students, because every teaching and learning context is different from the next one, and something that may work for you, Volkan, may not work for somebody else, and vice versa, just depending on what you're faced with. But I think I'm a great believer in discovery and guiding students, helping students to work things out for themselves, not spoon feeding, supporting students and helping them to come to solutions themselves, rather than constantly just giving them the information. I'm not saying we should never do that. Of course, there are times when we have to give students information, but I like the concept, the trend, as you call it, of giving students things to do and helping them to arrive at solutions to tasks or problems or whatever it might be.
I understand. Thank you very much, Peter. And our questions is almost going to end. Just 2 more questions left, and then all questions are over. All right. So my next question, Peter, is about websites. So what are your favorite 3 websites to suggest for teachers?
Difficult. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I don't think I have any favorite websites for teachers. All I can suggest is things like the British Council Teaching English website, which is fantastic. Loads of excellent resources, lesson plans. I've been saying this for as long as the website has been available from the British Council, but I think it's an amazing resource, obviously free to use. Everything you could ever want is on there, different levels and so on and so forth. Other than that, I don't know. I suspect the teachers who are here this evening know better than I do. I mean, I don't teach, so I don't go to websites for teachers very much.
I
I think,
see.
you know, things I've learned myself recently are the type of apps
Mm-hmm.
that teachers are using online to use with their students. Different apps for checking things, and things like Mentimeter and polls, and you know, all of those types of things, which I know have become very, very popular
I
with,
see.
with teachers. There's another one. I've forgotten the name of it. A pad for writing answers
Mm-hmm.
when students are in breakout rooms.
Yeah.
I think all of those types of things. But you know, to be honest with you, Volkan, I think, you know, compared to when I first started teaching, you know, many years ago, you know, we didn't have the internet then. We didn't have, you know, websites to go to, and we hardly had any books. But you know, we still managed to do a pretty good job. And I think possibly, you know, look at the course book is my best suggestion here. Really, don't go to the website unless you really need to. But you know, course books nowadays are brilliant, absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. And you know, all of the collateral material that you get, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the teacher's resources. You know, in the old days, the teacher's resource was just a list of answers. That was it. But
Yes.
nowadays, you know, teachers' books are teacher development. They've got suggestions for differentiation, you know, an amazing wealth of resources. And course
Mm-hmm.
books themselves are just so much richer than they were in the past. So I think if teachers feel they need to go somewhere else to find loads of extra material, it may just be a problem with the course book
I see.
rather than you know anything else. But I think nowadays course books are just so fantastic.
I see.
You know, and there's so much in them, and so much is available nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really answering your question, I'm afraid, but that's what I
No,
think.
no, no, it's okay. It's a great. It's a great. I got an idea. It's wonderful, Peter. Thank you very much. And there's a question. It's asked: is it very expensive to study in Cambridge schools in your country?
Is it expensive to study in Cambridge schools?
Yeah,
I have
that's the
absolutely
question.
no idea because I don't live in the UK. I certainly don't live in Cambridge. I suggest you go on the internet and Google it, and you'll find the answer. I have no idea. I have no idea. Sorry.
Okay, Peter. And my next question is about the books that you have written, like IGCSE, English as a Second Language. That book.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic books. And can you tell us about the advantages of this book for educators or for students?
Well, you've given me a lovely opportunity to promote my book. So
Yeah, of course.
I don't want people to think that I'm commercializing your session this evening. But I wrote the first edition of the book here in Cyprus, actually, when I was working in a language institute. And because I was teaching then, everything that went into the first edition was based on my own experiences of teaching. So it was very much me and what I did with my students. So I knew
Mm-hmm.
that everything in the book had been tried and tested by myself in the classroom. And I think that's why it became so popular, was because teachers could see that it had been written by a teacher and that it worked. I'm actually working now, literally, you know, today on the sixth edition of the book, which will be published
Wow.
next year.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm not teaching anymore, I look back at the previous editions, and a lot of the ideas and the methodology obviously haven't changed over the years. The stuff is now so fresh and up-to-date content. And after 5 previous editions, I think we know what we're doing now with the I'm amazed that it's now in a sixth edition, and it's sort of become something that I just do all the time because, you know, even if you're updating a book, it's an incredibly long process. You know, you're thinking about 12 to 18 months of writing and checking and editing, and then you have to go through the publication process. So by the time it's actually published and in the bookshops, it's probably 2.5 years since the project actually began. Wow. And then, of course, it's time to start thinking about the next edition. So it's just it just goes on and on and on. It's never ending. And because there's a workbook and a teacher's resource, it's actually 3 books all at the same time that you're writing.
I see.
It's an enormous amount of work, but it's something I really, really love. And there's nothing I like more than to see teachers and students using it and enjoying it. And you know, I get a lot of very great feedback from people using it, which helps me to develop it and make it better, you know, for the next edition.
I know that it's a wonderful and it's a very brilliant book. As far as I checked the comments about the books, and the teachers and the students who uses the book, they were all satisfied, and they were really happy to use that book. So for that reason, I would like to thank you that for creating such a wonderful book for ELT World.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And my last question, I would like to ask you this, and I would like to keep it longer, but I know that it's really going to be late, and we are all very busy, especially you are here and with us, and I don't want to take your time. And my last question is, what is your motto?
Ooh, my motto.
Yes.
I'm not sure I have one. I can make one up. I don't think I have, actually. I don't think I have a motto. No, I think the things that the sort of the idea, if you like, that I live by in terms of education is, I've mentioned it already, but this idea of always being willing to try something. You know, never say never. Yeah, that would be my motto. Once you've tried it, then I think you're in a position to be able to say that it works or it doesn't work. As I said, I find it quite depressing sometimes when people say, "No, it's a great idea, but it's a great idea, but I love the idea, but." You know, that "but" is a horrible word, and I always say to people, "Well, try it just once, and you may be pleasantly surprised at how successful it is." So yeah, my motto is never say never. Yeah.
Never say never. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right, Peter. That's all my questions for Teacher Talks. Before we finish our session, would you like to add anything else?
Well, only to say I'm so grateful that you invited me, and it's been a really wonderful 45 minutes or so. Great questions. I'm happy to hang around another 10 minutes if anybody wants to ask anything. If anybody who's with us wants to ask a question, quite happy to answer.
Let's wait then. And while we are waiting, the questions. In this pandemic period, one more question I would like to ask.
Yeah.
Do you provide online trainings to the teachers in this pandemic period?
Yeah. In fact, I've just finished a course for teachers in Turkey, Cambridge Train the Trainer course.
Wow.
I was working with 24 teachers, experienced teachers, training them to become trainers themselves. Mostly university teachers. But after the end of the course, they were going to go on and start training teachers within their universities. And we did the whole course online. So yes, absolutely.
I see.
I mean, it's all I've done for the last 12 months.
Wonderful. There's a question. Eva Evgenia Tatarova, she's asking. Thank you, Eva, for the question. Can we find any of your webinars, blogs, talks, or podcasts?
Yeah, a lot of stuff I've done is on the Cambridge YouTube channel. So you just go to YouTube and type Cambridge, I guess, and it'll come up with all of the webinars, not just that I've done, but colleagues from Cambridge university have done. So that's the quickest and easiest place to find stuff.
I see. There's another question. What about upcoming online courses?
Courses for what?
I mean, like teachers training courses, I guess. She's asking, like, there's a question. The question is from Sue. Sue is asking, what about upcoming online courses? She asked, probably training courses for teachers.
Well, as I say, I work for the MENA region, and Turkey's not in the MENA region. That doesn't mean you can't attend, but to be honest with you, the academic year is pretty much finished now. And the only things which are coming up that I'm aware of in the next month or so are conferences. And I'm going to be involved in quite a few of those in the coming weeks and months. But as for, direct courses and training for teachers, I'm not really aware of anything. Certainly not before June,
I see.
because it's the month of Ramadan now, and then it's the Bayram or Eid, and then it'll be the middle of June, and then it's the summer holidays. I don't know if people are having summer holidays this year, but you know what I mean. And then it'll be August and time to start thinking about the new academic year. But if you go to cambridge.org, we advertise all of the courses that are being offered all over the world, and of course at the moment, I don't mean right now, but I mean during this whole 12 months, there's been so much more available, simply because we're not traveling, so we're offering a lot more online.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I think that's all for tonight. And I would like to say one more time, thank you very much for accepting my invitation, Peter, for Teacher
It's a pleasure.
Talks. It was wonderful an hour with you here. We learned and your ideas, your suggestions about our questions and our audience's questions. And that was a wonderful one. And I'm really happy that we have a chance to have you here in Teacher Talks live sessions. And thank you very much one more time. And
Thank
also,
you.
I would like to say thank you to our listeners to come and join. And also, they had a chance to listen Peter Lucantoni tonight. We learned a lot from him. And thank you very much one more time. And we will see each other in the next Monday at the same time, on the same day. And until that time, take care of yourselves and peace, everybody. Bye. Good evening.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.